Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Tider Insider TV. As you heard, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa. They do so much for our community. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Well, standout running back Akylin Dear has made a decision. The 6', 200-pound standout from Quitman High School in Quitman, Mississippi, ranks as the nation's top running back, according to some. He announced for the Crimson Tide this afternoon. As a junior last season, he rushed for 2,016 yards and scored 27 touchdowns. And as a sophomore, he had 21 touchdowns. So he's already been a standout for a while. He chose Alabama over Ole Miss and Mississippi State, the two in-state schools, and, of course, many others. He's been a priority target for the Alabama coaching staff, and he has a close relationship with running backs coach Robert Gillespie. Not to mention, he's also close with Alabama freshman running back Daniel Hill, who is from Meridian, just up Highway 45 from Quitman. 247 Sports is Deer ranked as the #1 running back in the 2025 class. Alabama head coach Kylin Dear and the Crimson Tide coaching staff continue to impress on the recruiting trail. This is a video that you can see just how athletic, fast, and powerful this young man is. I'm going to let this clip run for just a little bit more here so you can see the power, too. I mean, that's the modern-day running back, direct snap, and he's off. Dear was previously committed to Ole Miss. All right, let me bring Rodney in now for analysis on Akylin Dear. This is not a guy that is a situation where Alabama's backup plan. He was running back priority #1. And when the young man out of Chattanooga committed to Ole Miss over the weekend, you had a feeling that today this was going to be the announcement for Dear, and it is. So Alabama gets its guy. Their #1 target at the running back position throughout the entire cycle has been Kylin Dear.
Yeah. We can go back to July 4th. We had him in our Firecracker 5, so that's a hit for our Firecracker 5. We had a couple of misses this year, but
still 3 for 5, I think,
yeah,
total.
Yeah, pretty good. But, yeah, Dear, I mean, he's a fantastic back. You saw the video there. He can do it all. Break tackles, run with power, run with speed. He can catch the ball extremely well. I think for this offense, Gary, what they do in this offense, the versatility that is required of running backs in Kylin Dear's defense or offense, I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, because, again, he's kind of the modern-day running back. Well, what I mean by that, well, 30, 40, 50 years ago, the modern-day running back at that time was just a guy that was in the I formation. You fed him the ball 40 times in the run game. Every now and then might catch a screen pass. But this is a guy that can run it hard between the tackles, get outside on the perimeter, use him in the passing game. You can even split him out if you want to and move him around. That's kind of the modern-day running back. You really need to be versatile. But he is, as I said, powerful enough still to run between the tackles,
and
too.
there you see the speed there. He's a breakaway player. I mean, big-time, explosive player. Look, you have to give a lot of kudos here, I think, to Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach. He did a great job. Now, Gillespie's originally from Mississippi. You remember when he was highly recruited coming out of high school many years ago. But, yeah, it goes back to his home state, lands the #1 player, #1 running back in the country. But, Gary, again, I think you have to go back and say, the job that Robert Gillespie did sticking with him after Nick Saban left. There was a lot of talk that, Dear was going to scratch Alabama off his list. But keeping Gillespie and then the opportunity to meet with Dear and kind of get a better feel for this offense, I think was really crucial in his decision.
And make have no doubt that this is a big recruiting win because he was a priority for Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin has done an incredible job in recruiting an in-state guy. Those in-state guys, I know this having lived there and worked there in the TV business, when an in-state Mississippi school, or when a Mississippi school, whether it's state or Ole Miss, makes an in-state guy a priority, they're hard to beat.
Real hard to beat. Yeah, they're real hard to beat. He was originally committed there. I mean, he decommitted several weeks ago. We thought he may pick Alabama sooner, but now he does it before his senior year. And again, let's be clear. It's going to be a long process with him. Not just with him, Caleb Cunningham, obviously, too. So, but right now, I think he's a firm commitment.
Well, it was the first hit in the recruiting in a while for Alabama, but the Tide, has got this class ranked #2 in the country, but still some guys out there. Let's talk about a couple while we're on recruiting that Alabama really is working hard to get. One is the defensive lineman, Justice Terry. One-time committed to Southern Cal. Georgia, I think, is clearly the leader here, Rodney, but Alabama kind of keeps hanging around.
Yeah, look, you never can predict how these things are going to pan out. A few years ago when Alabama landed Caleb Downs, I thought he was probably going to go to Georgia or Ohio State for a long time, and, Alabama just was there. And again, with Justice Terry, he's a 5-star rated player. I do say right now, if you ask me today, it's going to be really difficult to get him away from Georgia. But don't forget now, he originally committed to USC. So you don't really know, but right now I do strongly favor Georgia here.
I talked about the modern running back, or the running back set for the modern game. He is very much a modern defensive lineman. 6'5", 275. He can play inside, but he can also be put out on the edge, can play 3 downs, can rush the passer, play the run. He's the kind of guy that you're looking for.
There's a reason why he's a 5-star.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
He's a fantastic player.
Another guy that Alabama is after is 4-star linebacker Ty Jackson out of Loxahatchee, Florida. This is a guy, and Alabama's had an unbelievable class in terms of linebackers. But this is another guy that Alabama would like to add, even more so, and we'll tell you why that is in a moment. But what do you know about Ty Jackson? You know
what? He's a great player, obviously. Again, I think he's a 5-star to me. He's a 5-star talent. Can do it all. He's not the biggest guy. He probably checks in about 6'1", 200, 205. Gary, look at that speed. Man.
135 tackles as a junior.
Yeah.
So he gets around the football. Yeah, he's the modern-day athletic sideline-to-sideline linebacker. I mean, the game has changed. It really has. And Alabama on defense is really putting a priority on speed. That's why this is a guy. It's going to be, a while, I think, before he does something, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think right now Alabama's certainly in the mix. Georgia, Florida's been strongly in the mix. We'll see. The season, the way it all plays out, could have something to do with it.
Look at all those hats. He's got the offers, doesn't he? All right, one reason that Alabama really is going to work Ty Jackson hard is they had one of their commits, Jaeden Harmon, linebacker out of Rome, Georgia, similar type player to Jackson, decommit, really actually flip from Alabama to Tennessee. Now, this is the modern day. I keep saying modern day, but the game has changed in so many ways, including recruiting. And you never really rest until you have them signed, and then even after that. But this is a really good football player. There's no doubt about it. Tennessee was able to flip him, and even though Alabama's got a lot of good linebackers coming in, this is a hit.
It is, in terms of, like you said, he is a good player. I mean, look at him there. He's very physical. He's great speed, all those things. Maybe not the greatest size. Again, I know they say he's 220 pounds. There's some people that maybe question that a little bit if he's even that big. But, yeah, he's a really good player. And but here's the thing. I mean, Alabama's got 5 linebackers committed right now. A couple of those guys are inside backers. I'm not downplaying the flip of Jaeden Harmon, but I am saying they're still in really good position.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, when you talk recruiting these days at Alabama, you talk Courtney Morgan. He's a big part of all the recruiting efforts for Alabama, the general manager for Crimson Tide football, and he is a guy that is going to be getting a lot more money, and we're going to have that coming up. We'll tell you all about it. And we'll provide a recap of Alabama's second fall scrimmage on Saturday, discussing how it was different from the first one 2 weeks ago. And we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets as we have the scrimmage coming up, plus getting to your some phone calls coming up. We'll have that when Tider Insider returns. There's the phone numbers, 205-348-9882. Alabama football practice number 16 of fall camp today in full pads, and this is the last opportunity we'll have to get video for a while until next week. And actually the video, the media viewing period was moved up from tomorrow until today. The offense now, while the media was out there, practiced outside. The defense practiced inside, so they separated them at least for the media viewing period. Offense was outside, defense was inside. You saw Jeremy Bernard. There is Dylan Lonergan. Anyway, just some practice video. There's Lockwood, the tight end right there. Good-looking group of tight ends. So practicing today. They'll be back out there tomorrow, but no media viewing period. And welcome back into TITV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa, alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris, and one word has been used a lot to describe the Crimson Tide's second scrimmage of fall camp this past Saturday: physical. In fact, Rodney, I think you and your story on TiderInsider.com said that someone that you talked to said it was brutality was a word he used.
It was brutal.
Said they got after it out there.
Really,
I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean,
right.
they just really physical scrimmage.
Right. And other people said it was violent,
Yeah.
it was a really physical scrimmage. I think most people think that the defense kind of had the better day.
Which I think is a good thing.
It's a great thing. But the offense has had a lot of good moments, too. Let's be clear. They had some good moments in this scrimmage. Jalen Milroe, there you go. He threw 2 touchdown passes, had a touchdown run, had a good day. Ty Simpson had some plays, made some plays. We're seeing the offensive line come around. Now, the running backs, the running game, keep in mind, Jam Miller was held out. Justice Haynes didn't get a ton of work. Richard Young got a lot of work, the redshirt freshman. There you see Damani Jackson, who is one of the starting corners. But the defense overall, I hear a lot of positive things about the way the secondary played. The defensive backs made a lot of big hits, Malachi Moore being one of those. But overall, Gary, again, I think it was a great tone setter to where you're moving forward to the season opener.
Yeah, that was a great recap, Ronnie. 94 plays, as you said. Milroe, 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing as well. Ryan Williams had a one-handed circus catch. Graham Nicholson field goals of 41 and 50 yards. As you said, running game was impacted by Miller sitting it out and Haynes not running a lot. But again, I think that to hear that the defense might have had the upper hand, I think is great news, because I've said before, and I think you agree with me, this offense has a chance to be dynamic. And we have had concerns about the defense, particularly in the secondary. But you know what? Coach DeBoer said afterwards, defensively, that he thought the secondary held up pretty well. A couple, I think, plays that they gave up maybe in 3rd and long and stuff like that. Wouldn't call them busted coverages, but plays that they gave up. But all in all, for the defense to hold its own against that offense, I think is a great sign for the season.
Yeah, and defense coordinator Kane Womack said today, he knows they're going to take their lumps because they're young at those corner spots. I mean, you have 5 new guys out there. You have 4 of those guys, don't forget, were 5-star rated players coming out of high school. But they have a lot of talent. It's just the inexperience.
All right, it is now time for Coach Talk. And earlier today, Alabama defensive coordinator Kane Womack offered some insight to the motivation and fuel behind the defense and its physical style of play this past weekend. His response to a question about that is simple. You don't come to Alabama unless you're a true competitor and want to get after it.
Guys that hate to lose, as opposed to guys that just enjoy winning, will do whatever it takes to get something fixed when adversity hits. And so, our offense has created tons of challenges for us and what we have to defend. And so I think our guys have responded really well to that adversity. And I didn't think in scrimmages, particularly early on in the springtime or in, fall scrimmage 1, you really look at us last year, we were the same way. We didn't start fast enough, and I think our guys have really taken that challenge upon themselves.
Well, Alabama defensive tackle Tim Smith's been around here for 5 years. He's already a graduate student. And he stopped short, Rodney, today of saying that Saturday scrimmage was the most intense that he's been a part of at Alabama. But at the same time, he kind of smiled a little bit when he talked about how physical it was. So players, coaches, everybody feeling good, I think, about the effort that was put in. And you always, I guess, worry about injuries, Rodney. But it seems like, at least from what we can tell, that they came out of that scrimmage fairly injury-free.
Yeah, I mean, a few nicks, bruises, nothing really significant. Now, Jaeden Roberts did have hand surgery. His mother did tweet that out. The starting right guard, he's
But he's expected to be back.
Yeah, he very soon. But Kane Womack made a great point there, Gary, about this defense. The benefit of going up against this Akylin Dear offense has really helped these defensive backs and the defense as a whole to be able to see the different things they've seen from that offense.
Some of those standouts on defense, Justin Orenquanquo, the freshman linebacker, laid out Richard Young, we're told. Quay Russaw had a sack. He got after some people. Keon Keeley and Noah Carter got after the quarterback too. Interior defensive line had some success against the run, so a really, really good day. All right, let's talk about Courtney Morgan. Now, I said this on my radio show this morning. Sports is kind of an outlier, as compared to real life. Yeah, most real life jobs, you don't get a job in January at $500,000 a year and then get a $325,000 raise. In just a matter of 7 months. But that's the case for Courtney Morgan. Actually, $375,000 as he's going from $500,000 to $875,000 by the final year of his contract. So I think it's going to start out at $825,000. But still, Ronnie, this is the way it goes now. Listen, $325,000 is a drop in the bucket if he delivers a number 1, 2, or 3 ranked recruiting class and at least the championships at Alabama. That's the reality of it. He's from California. Southern Cal made a big push to get him. And, good for him and good for Alabama football to hang on to him.
He has a strong connection with, the president out there at USC. And you're right. I don't think they just made one push. I think they made a couple of pushes, Gary. And supposedly they offered him a package over $1 million. So, But again, I think Courtney Morgan sees the direction this program is relationship with Kylin Dear first and foremost, but the direction that Alabama's going to take, you know what, this is a great place for him to continue what he's doing.
Yeah, other contract adjustments came for women's basketball coach Christy Curry, gymnastics coach Ashley Johnston, track and field coach Dan Waters, associate baseball head coach Jason Jackson, rowing coach Glenn Putre, and men's tennis coach George Husak all got pay raises approved today by the Board of Trustees Compensation Committee. Well, coming up on TITV, Alabama basketball will be playing a scrimmage game in Huntsville, and we'll tell you all the details and who the opponent will be. And up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, that phone number, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We will have phone calls. We'll hear from Tider Insider Nation next here on TITV. Alabama men's basketball will face Memphis in Huntsville for a preseason tune-up game. The Tide and the Tigers, Memphis is a really good team, by the way, will play October 28th at the Von Braun Center. All proceeds will support the Huntsville Hospital Foundation and their Caring House Children's Grief Program, so a great cause. Even though it won't count in the standings, the game, as I said, an intriguing matchup. Alabama and Memphis both having reached the NCAA tournament the last couple of years. And, of course, the Tide going to the Final Four, and Penny Hardaway still the coach at Memphis. They got a lot of talent. Ought to be fun up there in the Rocket City. All right, welcome back into TITV with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. I want to make sure, because I was kind of stumbling around a little bit on the Courtney Morgan contract. The average of the contract for the 3 years is $825. That's what the average is. It'll be $875 by the final year. Of course, the last part of this first year is going to be prorated because he was scheduled to make $500,000 this first year, but $825,000, the 3-year average of the new contract for Courtney Morgan. All right, let's get out on the phone call and talk with our pal Dale. He's going to lead us off down in Mountville. Hey, Dale.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Rodney and Gary. If y'all can name some names of some of the players they might be Alabama might be targeting after Harmon's decommitment would be good. But my question, really, what I'd like to know, I saw a local sports writer mention the fact that Alabama's defensive line was running a gap one. Can y'all explain what the difference of that is, and Coach Saban's the defense that he ran, and what's the disadvantages and the advantages running a 4-2-5?
Oh, Lord. You getting into the technical stuff.
He needs to listen to your interview with Ellis Johnson.
Yeah, I had Ellis Johnson on my radio show a couple of weeks ago, and he explained the 4-2-5 and all the differences, and you can go back and listen at the Tide 109 Podcast Center if you want. As far as the outside linebackers, we mentioned Ty Jackson. Anybody else that they're looking at?
First of all, they have 5 guys committed. We talked about 2 of those guys we think are going to be outside linebackers, Justin Hill, Dawson Merritt, but they've got Abdul Sanders, they've got Luke Metz, they've got Duke Johnson. These are really highly regarded players. And Ty Jackson, if they were to add Ty to that list, I mean, that's 6 really outstanding high school linebackers. Again, here's the thing, Dale. When recruiting, as the season goes along, there's going to be more guys that emerge. There's going to possibly be guys that are committed to other schools that are going to want to flip here. So, we'll see how it plays out over the course of time. And
that article on the one gap, I haven't read it. So, I mean, I'm assuming, in Coach Saban's defense at times, I think the interior, the nose tackle had 2-gap responsibility. I'm assuming with an even front of 4 men, maybe it's just the defensive linemen have 1 gap that they're trying to attack through.
And that'll allow them, I think that's one thing in recruiting that could be a positive with defensive linemen, because a lot of these guys, they want to make plays. They don't want to eat up blocks. They want to make plays. That's what Kane Womack stressed. We're going to be really aggressive up front. So I think that could be really beneficial, not only to this defense, but it'd be helpful in recruiting.
Like you said, just hitting it and going. Stu, give me that phone caller again real quick. John in Walker County. Let's go up to Walker County. Hey, John, good evening.
Hi, y'all. I'm looking forward to this season. Who is going to carry the Alabama and Auburn game this year? What channel?
I'm confident it'll be ABC. CBS no longer has the contract, so it's going to be either ABC or ESPN. Which one they decide to carry it on, I think they'll wait and announce that later. But it'll either be ABC or one of the ESPNs because they've got the entire contract. There is no more CBS. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what time. Time and TV has not been announced yet, but it'll be ABC or one of the ESPNs. Thanks for the phone calls. Thanks for hanging in with us. We're going to get to more phone calls, and our email question of the day is coming up when TITV returns. There's the phone number again, 205-348-9882. Phone lines are open, and as you hear now, they're working beautifully. So for those 2-3 weeks that we were having trouble, that's all fixed. Give us a call. We'll be back after this. Number 20 Alabama soccer on the road over the weekend, defeating North Texas 2-1 on Saturday. Freshman Kylie Kukan notched the first goal of her collegiate career in the 21st minute to give Alabama the lead. North Texas' Summer Brown tied it up in the 80th minute. However, that lead lasted just a minute as junior Gianna Paul, one of the best soccer players in the country, drove a kick into the lower left corner for a 2-1 lead, and that wound up being the final. Bama 2, North Texas 1. Welcome back in to TITV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's get to our email question of the day. And our email question of the day is brought to you by, my mind just went blank and it's not up there on the screen. Oh, there it is. KDM Service Corporation. Get that up there for me, folks. I got a lot going on in my head here. KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family. Let's get to the email question of the day. And okay. All right. We're having some issues. I heard the transfer kicker has struggled. Is that true? Ron in Clanton. I don't know. I hadn't necessarily heard that. When I heard he had a pretty good scrimmage. Anything to that, Graham Nicholson?
Okay, the first scrimmage, he missed a couple of kicks. It struggled. I wouldn't phrase it that way at all. I think he's had a really strong camp. I think what happened, Gary, is when they went to the stadium, some of the differences, the atmosphere, the environment there, and Kylin Dear addressed this, talked about visualization, visualizing it. It's a little bit different in the stadium. So he's been pretty good. He's been really good. But he did have a couple of misses in a scrimmage.
All right. Thanks for the email question of the day, and thanks to KDM Service Corporation. Rick and Brent on the phones. Quick, Rick.
Yeah, how are y'all tonight?
Doing well.
Great. Is Charlie Stubbs' offense similar to Borg with halfback passes and double reverses?
Charlie Stubbs?
It's been a long time since we've heard that name. Got to go quick, Rodney. Is it similar?
Well,
been a long time.
They may have some similarities, but again, that'd be tough to compare those two.
All right. Thanks for the phone calls and emails. We'll be back to wrap up TITV right after this. A documentary on Coach Gene Stallings titled Do Right, the Stallings Standard premiere is quickly approaching, produced by two UA professors, Dr. Chandra Clark and Dr. Michael Bruce. The documentary focuses on Coach Stallings' 1992 national championship, bridging the championship gap between coaching legends Paul Bryant and Nick Saban, and while building international awareness and opportunities for people with developmental disabilities. Can't wait. All right, that is going to do it for today's show. Reminder, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 on WVUA 23 or find it anytime at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you with some video from the Knicks Kids event last week, the luncheon. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everybody.